Hey, hey, Inspired Tribe. Welcome to the Inspired Livestream on this glorious Wednesday, February 17th. What a great number. We love the number 17. Such a cool number. And we're excited that you're here. It's the year 2020, WON 21. And I'm Jean Nolan. This is Kristin Nolan. I know you can't see her right now, but you'll hear her throughout the live stream. And our beautiful, glorious, amazing, inspired mantra for the live streams is, we are healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, and we're free. And I really, really want you to repeat this out loud wherever you are. I don't care where you're sitting right now. Say it out loud. We're healthy, wealthy, we're whole, and we're free. We're going to tap into this subject today that's going to encompass and include all of these beautiful qualities. We are excited that you're here. And today we're asking a really important question. Are you surviving or are you thriving? We want to reach out to everyone who maybe was out of power and is back on the power grid. It's going to be part of what we talk about today as well. We know parts of the U.S. have been affected more. We've had ice and snow and everything, but so far our power has stayed on. Everything's good. Thank you for tuning in from all parts of the world. Please, new and existing members, let us know where you're tuning in from. Put it in the live chat. It's part of the connection process. So we want to not just show where the Inspired Tribe is spread out, but also for you guys to see, oh, there's someone close to me. Oh, there's another tribe member in Italy. There's another tribe member in Scotland. There's another tribe member in Australia. And so we can connect you guys and you can connect with each other. So, you know this, if you've been with us for a while, we use this phrase quite often. And by the way, yes, this is the official Inspired Tribe merch hoodie. If you want to check it out, we put the link to the merch store on top of the live chat. Kristin designs these with so much love. The way she does it, okay, I'll give you the process quick overview. So she makes herself a really nice cup of tea.
Are you telling juicy details?
Yeah, juicy details. Mind you, I can prepare a lot of things for my wife, but not her cup of tea. It is so specific and special. And even if I observe her for days, I'm shadowing her. I'm literally looking over her shoulder. If I do it, it's still not just right. And I get it. It's all her. So she takes her cup of tea. She sits next to the fireplace in a comfy chair. And she's soaking in all the beautiful energies of the Inspired Tribe. And she's looking for something that really, really inspires her, inspires us, inspires you. And then she comes up with these beautiful designs, beautiful sayings. This is Inspired Tribe. And on the back, look what it says here. Can you see it? Honey, can they see it?
I guess, yeah, they can see it. Love
so,
wins.
Hashtag love wins. And she does it with so much love. It is never like a labor, an efforting labor. It's always a joy labor. So if for nothing else, just take a look through the store and get inspired by all the beautiful designs and let us know what you think. So, Tribe, here's an honest question. And you know this, if you've been with us for a while, you know we get provocative sometimes. You know we kind of push a little sometimes, but never to be in your face, always to present a bigger picture. That's always kind of the thing. But we do know one thing. Nothing is as thought-inspiring as a provocative statement. Now, it might first cause anger, it might first cause confusion, but it usually leads to greater realizations. So a little bit of, provoking is part of the recipe here. So here's a question. Are you surviving or are you thriving? Honestly speaking, are you in a mode of survival? How does survival feel? Survival feels like getting up in the morning and basically doing your very best to fight off the worries and to, to have all these kind of habitual negative thought patterns and to get through the day, and where you feel maybe very tired at the end of the day, depleted at the end of the day, and where you kind of just go, okay, I'm glad I just got another day behind me. I'm glad, I'm glad this is over. Or are you someone like, I remember saying to Kristin yesterday, some days I love going to bed and I love going to sleep and I love the beauty of how that feels, and just resting and putting my head in the pillow. Last night, I literally said, tonight, I'd just rather switch right over to tomorrow morning. I'd just rather begin the next day because I'm excited about this day. I feel like I'm thriving. I feel like we're thriving. I feel like we're expanding. It's not that I look out into the world and see that necessarily, but I feel it within me. I see it in our little universe. So we're asking you outright right now, are you surviving or are you thriving? Let us know in the comments. And this is not a judgment. It's not I'm pointing at you and you're not doing it right. This is about exploring what that really means. And here's an interesting observation. And as some of you maybe know, we used to live in Europe. We moved to the US, and this is home. Yes, it's a big yes, and we love it. And we have traveled quite a bit. We've seen many places, and mostly what's been really interesting, our life is always filled with new relationships, meeting new people, diving into new worlds, diving into new scenes, new spheres, meeting all kinds of people from across the planet. And one thing that we've noticed is that most people equate thriving to, finances and material abundance. And while that's definitely a part of it, I can tell you one thing, our observation, most people that we know that have a lot of money, we're talking that kind of money where you don't ever think about money ever again, they're not thriving. They're not thriving whatsoever. They're probably waking up with more worries and heaviness than you are if you who's watching right now don't know exactly where the next mortgage payment money or next rent check is coming from. Trust me, these people are not thriving. A lot of them aren't. And the reason why they're not thriving is because they put all their hopes and dreams and energy into financial abundance, which is a beautiful thing, really beautiful thing. But they feel there's something more and they can't put their finger to it. And that's what we want to discuss with you today, because we want you guys, we want the Inspire Tribe to really thrive. That's what we do with our course members. That's what we do with our, aspiring coaches. That's what we do with everything we do is we want you to thrive in ways you've never thrived before. And there's a number of things that in our physical experience, we need to bring into our experience to really have that thriving mode all the time or most of the time. And one thing that if you look out into the world, and this is something really important, if you look out into the world right now, especially in the past 10, 11, 12 months, so especially since the pandemic started, we are, as a world, in crisis mode. Literally, we're literally moving from one crisis, from the numbers, the cases, the tests, the vaccines, the riots, the economic fallout, the lockdowns, the psychological, it's one crisis after another. And most people have been taught that when a crisis happens, whether it's in their lives personally, or whether it's like a economic crisis, or it's a depression, or it's a one of those things that affects a lot of people, that people begin to retrieve. They begin to kind of build a little shell around them. They begin to preserve. They begin to save. They begin to kind of be the opposite of generous, with themselves and with others. They're like, okay, things are tough, times are tough, it's a rainy day, I really got to make sure that I keep everything that I have, that I don't lose that. But the most inspiring people that we've met, and this has been our story as well, were the ones who really expanded in times of crisis, who really saw, because crisis gives you an amazing opportunity. Crisis, whatever that is, gives you contrast, enough contrast, so you can clearly see what it is that you don't desire. I'm giving you a prime example that's happening right now across this country, and across actually many countries around the planet in different climate zones, which is a hint. It's really not about weather. A lot of people right now are experiencing power outages. They're experiencing cold. They're literally freezing, very cold in their homes. They might not have water. They might not have power. And they are experiencing this contrast. And what they're seeing is they're highly dependent. They're highly dependent on an infrastructure that they have virtually no control over. They don't even know where that infrastructure really comes from. They don't know who's in control of that infrastructure. And it's such a centralized way that it becomes very clear. If you, during the winter seasons, go for one night without power, certain things become very clear to you. If you go 2, 3, 4 days without power, without heat, things become very clear to you. You realize that's not what I ever want to experience again. And at the same time, you realize what you do want to experience. And the kind of thriving that we're talking about here today is moving into a state of independence, of self-reliance, of having control over the most basic areas of your life. And this is why we started the way we started with the Inspired Tribe, because we believe it begins with your inner world. It begins in being in charge of your feelings, being in charge of your well-being, being in charge of your mind, being in charge of your vision, being in charge of your dreams, being in charge of your intentions. And there's nothing more satisfying than area after area developing this independence and realizing I can actually choose how I feel. I can influence these states. I can move from one state to another. I can be the creator of my own reality. And when that kicks in, then you have literally developed a kind of independence that most people don't have, because this is the most important part, having control over your feelings and over your mind. But after that, after the inner world is kind of balanced, you naturally begin to ask yourself, what other areas in my life do I have control over, or where am I dependent on others? And this is what we're seeing, what we have seen throughout the year, and what we're seeing especially right now. And the world will give us more opportunities to learn that, because this crisis mode, it won't end tomorrow. It won't end in a week. The world will continue to present us with crisis. Whether that's authentic or not, or whether that's artificially produced, it's not really the discussion right here, right now. The world is going to do that. What we're going to see very shortly, it's going to be some sort of food shortages because of supply chain problems that have developed over the last year. All of that's going to develop in our world. This is not a theory. This is not a maybe. This is going to happen. But it is a scheduled event, but it's going to happen. So what is our course of action? What is our intention? Look at the most basic areas of your most basic needs. Food, we talked about this. Food, water, shelter, so a house, power, those things. Nowadays, it's internet, right? Everyone really wants internet. With certain things almost only being available through the internet, it's become somewhat of a necessity. It's not, your life doesn't depend on it, but mostly, business, commerce, any kind of that depends on using the internet. So how do we do that? And that's the kind of thriving that we talk about here, because the people that we do know that have moved just past financial abundance and have moved into this mode of thriving, where they grow their own food, where they live in communities that really pay attention to that really their vision and intention aligns with, they want to have their own power supply, they want to have their own water source, they want to be growing their own food, they want to be in a state of independence when it comes to their basic needs. These people truly thrive. That's a kind of freedom, that's a kind of limitlessness that literally changes everything in your life. These people, they move into a new state of expansion, something that is way beyond what you can imagine if you aren't in a state like that, if you aren't living that kind of life. And part of our vision with the Inspired Tribe was from the beginning to connect people and to introduce a vision, introduce the tools, introduce the everything that you might require for that to build such a lifestyle. Because the future is local, the future is individual, the future is you. Your future will be built on what you create for yourself. It's not what the world will give you. Because the world, as it talks about getting even more global and getting more interconnected, it also means that it's getting more centralized. It means that fewer people have control over greater areas of life. So very few people control the power grid, control the internet, control the food supply chain, and all those things, which means that you are even less capable of having any influence over that. But if we build our future locally in beautiful communities of like-minded or similar-minded people, then we are in control of those things. It isn't, I can tell you this, there is, besides solar, which is, very well known, there are so many options today of creating your own power. I mean, the patents that are out there, some that are being suppressed, are beyond amazing. You can't even believe what's already out there. And if you dig a little, if you look a little, if you search a little, you'll see that there are amazing options already available. And the importance here is, and this has been there have been many attempts to create such communities. And a community is just one suggestion. I mean, you can just buy a little piece of land and begin to live there independently and build all these structures for yourself. A community of like-minded people is simply a wonderful enhancement of that power. You thrive, by communicating with each other, by helping each other, by inspiring each other. But what is really important is that every individual member of that community is still their own boss, still has, has dominion, has say over their own little space of love, their own little property. And why this is important, because this has been literally the failing point. This has been the the downfall of all of these communities, that there was a centralized structure. There was one central focal point in those communities. They were very spiritual, that understood the importance of self-reliance, but there was one central point that owned all of it, and then people were able to live on it for free and just put in their labor. This has never worked, because it is nothing else than spiritual glorified socialism. It doesn't work. It's still one entity controls, because as soon as that entity has a little bit of a different vision than you, they will use that leverage to control the movement of others. And so it's really important that we understand that that space that we build should be our own, and we should have say over what happens on that space, what happens on that land, how we grow those things are really, really, really important. And so it's not so much about ownership, it's more about stewardship, because after you move into a different world, there's maybe going to be the next generation taking care of it. But let's be really good stewards, and let's create a vision where we can thrive in ways that we've never thrived before. So this is literally the topic that we've been introducing slowly within our tribe. And so we want to kind of put that seed out there, because this is becoming increasingly important. The power grid's probably not going to fall apart tomorrow, and these things are gradually increasing. These problems are gradually increasing in our world. And once again, we're not talking about the whys right now. We're just observing that it is happening. We've been kind of expecting it to happen, but the tempo is increasing. So the question really is, does thriving mean to make enough money so you do, you kind of buy that little convertible that you always wanted, and which is wonderful? Or is thriving something beyond that? Does it mean, wow, I can buy that beautiful coat, or I can buy that beautiful purse or that pair of shoes? Or is it something beyond that? Is thriving, I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine sitting maybe on your porch or sitting in your living room, and this is your space that you've created for yourself. It is exactly the way you desire it to be. And as you're picking up, I don't know, a strawberry, the strawberry has grown in your garden, and that glass of water that you're holding is coming from your well, or is coming from your stream. It's coming from a spring that it's on your property or somewhere close by, and you are breathing fresh air, and you're experiencing nature, and you're experiencing independence. And you know that no matter what happens around you, no matter what happens, whether the grocery store is open or not, or whether people lose power 10 miles down the road, your basic needs are not just met, you're thriving. You are absolutely independent in that. And we believe throughout history, but especially in times like these, this is literally the most important thing that you can put your vision in and your energy in, and that you can become excited about. And I'll tell you something. We growing up in Europe, we are part of a, of course, post-war generations, but more than in North America, our grandfathers, they were in the war, and they were part of that historic experience of what it means to be dependent on a structure and then losing it all, and then having nothing because everything is falling apart. And I remember growing up that up until I would probably say the mid-90s or so, every house that was built always had a fireplace or had a wood stove, so people could, they were independent in their heating. So if they had power or not, they would just fire up the fireplace or the wood stove, and they would have, heat in the house. My grandma was, in that regard, absolutely independent. She had a beautiful wood stove that was huge in the living room, and that heated the whole apartment. It was a small apartment on the outskirts of a big city. And she had a little garden where she, grew some of her own food. And she had a little root cellar where she would have, sacks of potatoes that she would store throughout the winter. And she would have, she would preserve stuff, and just basic things that we have kind of forgotten about, are not really doing anymore as a society. And then in the mid-90s, it started to become a trend that people wouldn't pay attention to that anymore. They wouldn't put fireplaces in their houses. They wouldn't plan for any eventuality that might leave them to their own devices. And so whenever something happens, whenever the power goes off now, or whenever for some reason something doesn't work, people are pretty helpless, because their basic needs are dependent on structures that are out of their control and outside of their control. And this is maybe a really important thing to look at it that way too. If you don't want to be emotionally dependent on other people, which is always an unhealthy thing, you do the work that we do together, right? You learn to be the creator of your reality, to be the creator of your feelings, to be the creator of your experience, and to be the creator of your well-being. And you're independent in that. Why wouldn't you put the same attention to those other basic need areas of your life? Why wouldn't you focus on those few things? And it's not everything. You don't have to sew your own clothes necessarily. You could, but you don't have to necessarily. But when it comes to food and water and power and housing, shouldn't that be part of our vision, individually and together? And wouldn't it be wonderful if we started to communicate more with each other about it, learn more about it, thrive in that vision creating process, enrich each other, inspire each other, empower each other and ourselves? And wouldn't it be wonderful if we realized, well, I live in, one of our tribe members, Illy, lives in Dallas. Wouldn't it be wonderful if there's more people in Dallas that feel the same way? Wouldn't it be wonderful if you saw that there isn't just hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people? There's millions of people that have that vision. Wouldn't it be wonderful if, we started putting some of that into tangible action? What would be a first step for that? Would it be creating a little group to communicate with each other? Would it be looking for a plot of land that would enable 10, 12, 15 families or 15 individuals to have a plot of land to start becoming independent in that. So these practical questions, we want to put them out there. And we also want to give, and we will probably over the next days in the next live streams, we will mention this more often. We really, really, really want to inspire you to read the Ringing Cedar books. The links in the description down there. As we've said before, one of the most important investments in your vision and in your future that you can make and learn and remember. And yeah, once again, Kristin pointed this out. We're not the authors. We're not the publishers of those books. We haven't met the author yet, although I think that's in our future. These books have been sold tens of millions of times across the planet, translated into God knows 40 languages. So these are just amazing, amazing books. Never, ever have they had any real like promotion, advertisements, marketing. This is word of mouth because these books are so powerful. But these books will help you in creating that vision for and this is so important to know. What we're talking about here is not just for your individual well-being. When you understand the grander vision, you know that creating this kind of self-reliance and creating this kind of independence and being in control of our destiny will literally heal the whole planet in the process, or help in the healing, participate in that healing. Such powerful things. So we really want to inspire you to include that in your vision work, and to imagine how good it will feel, to know that it isn't, after a certain while, it isn't about money anymore. It is. Kristin and I always had that talk, is where so many of our wealthy friends and acquaintances, as soon as they created financial abundance, they created a lifestyle, of course, that required more financial abundance to maintain. So they would build or buy huge houses and cars and all of that. And all of a sudden, to maintain all of that, their monthly bill would go up, really high. So what that means is you always have that pressure in the back of your head that you can only maintain that lifestyle if money always keeps flowing. And while that's a wonderful thing to do, it's even more wonderful if you create a really thriving lifestyle that doesn't require for huge amounts of money to always come in. It's wonderful if they do, but if it doesn't happen for a month or two, you have no problems because you're independent, because you own the land that you live on. You grow the food that you eat, you produce the power that you use, and you have the water that you drink. And I know this sounds like a lot of work, but trust us that there is so much already in the process, so many ideas, so many people already doing it, and so much that has been prepared already, that we believe that it's now easier, more accessible than ever. And while this might have taken hundreds of thousands or even millions in the past, it might be a much lower investment right now, just because the momentum is here. So many people want to do this, are looking for ways. And we encourage you to look into this kind of thriving. Every area of your life that you become independent in, you have just created greater and greater freedom for yourself. And nothing could give you more freedom than being independent. You know this. How did it feel growing up when you finally got your driver's license? How did it feel when you were finally able to move about independently? How did it feel when you were finally able to make those choices and say, I want to go from here to here now. I'm going to drive there now. This feels amazing. This is independence. This is freedom. And we have been led away from that by societal ideas and norms. And for a reason, because if you're a dependent, you will always be willing to do things that you otherwise wouldn't be willing to do. And this is another thing. Throughout this last year, we have seen so many things that a lot of us don't feel aligned with. Measures and mandates and laws that we feel are inhumane, unjust, all of those things. But when you are in a dependent situation, you have a hard time following your bliss and your intuition, because you know that certain things are not going to work out for you the way they used to if you don't go along with the narrative, if you don't go along with what is being asked of you. Whereas if you are independent, and this is the beautiful thing, the people that are fully independent, they don't even think about stuff like that. They don't care. They literally don't care, because they have created a life for themselves that is independent, not just of the good opinion, but also of the goodwill of others. And that is true freedom. And we believe that is the future. The future is you. The future is individual. The future is local. The future is inspired. And the future is beginning right here, right now. And we want you all to connect with each other. Tribe, please, put your email addresses in the comments, in the live chats, in the Facebook group. Start talking to each other, start dreaming big, start sharing your vision, start looking for areas in the world that you want to live in. We grew up in one part of the world that we never felt at home in. We never felt like this was home soil, like this was our place in the world. And we moved halfway across the globe and found our beautiful home where we thrive, where we love to live, where it feels like home. Where it's like, it fits. And it doesn't have to be where you were born. You can choose. You can find that space, talk to each other, create visions. Let's begin right now, today, not tomorrow, not in a week. Begin today, a first wonderful step. And once again, nothing in it for us. Go check out the books in the description, the Ringing Cedar books. Order the first copy. Maybe it's in the library in your hometown. Maybe someone has it. I know Illy is beginning to read the books on YouTube.
And Illy said that the first book is on YouTube for free.
First book is on YouTube for free now.
To listen.
If Illy Lagos, check out her YouTube channel. She's one of the founding members of our beautiful tribe. I know she's
Junior coach.
Junior coach too. Yes, I'm gonna come.
Needs practice clients.
I'm gonna get to that in a second. And so her YouTube channel, Illy Lagos, please check it out. And if you feel inspired, it's always good to buy a copy. It's always good to support, the author. He supports so many wonderful movements. He puts money in so many wonderful things. So if you can, buy a copy, because you're going to love. Oh, thank you so much, Alma. That's so generous of you. Thank you. Alma has been contributing. We really appreciate that. Thank you for, contributing in that way too. And you will want to own a copy of each book of that series. We own them. This is one of the few things we brought over from Europe, the books, because we keep rereading them. We keep learning. We keep exploring. We keep understanding more. I'm reading them all the time. I've been reading them for what now, 9 years? All the time. And so this is going to be the best investment in your future. And we encourage you to do that really today. Begin today. Tribe, this has been the message. Now, junior coaches. What are junior coaches? They are not necessarily junior. Aspiring coaches in our ICA, in the Inspired Coaching Academy, which, so we started this year, beginning of the year. It's a year-long program where a group of people are learning how to become coaches. That's why we call them junior coaches. Wonderful people. And part of their learning process, actually a huge part of their process, is to work with practice clients, which means that when we teach them processes, they are going out and working with people and practicing those processes. So it's not like a regular coach-client relationship, because as a practice client, you get a secondhand benefit of the coach practicing. But every aspiring coach needs those practice clients, and it's always a wonderful experience for both parties. So if you are someone who would love to experience some of those processes and love to support our aspiring coaches, let us know either here in the live chat, send us an email to 365inspiredliving@gmail.com. you can become a practice client. It's really just a little bit of time that you invest. And our coaches can practice certain processes with you, processes where you learn how to relax really deeply, where you learn a lot about yourself, things like that. And our coaches would love for you to give them the opportunity to practice with you. So if you would love to be a practice client and also get a glimpse of what this might be like, because next year it might be you who's in the ICA 22. So just send us an email or let us know in the live comments. Most of our coaches are at least 1 or 2 live streams a week. So just reach out and say, me, practice client, and someone will jump right at it and seize the opportunity. Tribe, inspired tribe. Walk with this message of today. Walk with the idea of how this kind of thriving feels to you. Just as a first step, maybe after you order the book or late or before, whatever, but as a first step, get comfortable, close your eyes, and just imagine what it would feel like to be the master of your own little space, to thrive in the knowing that the beautiful meal that you're going to have today was grown on your land, that the fresh, the wonderful glass of water that you're enjoying is coming from a clean source that you have access to. That whether it's cold or whether it's hot or whatever the world does, you're going to have a light switch that will work all the time because you do create your own power. And that you're maybe part of a community of people that it's so wonderful to take a walk with in the afternoon, to sit together and chat and have conversations and thrive together and have and celebrate beautiful things, throughout the year, and maybe share Christmas with. All of those things. Imagine what it would feel like to be part of an inspired tribe community wherever you live on the planet, and begin creating that vision. Such a powerful vision. This is how we create the future now. And we feel so strongly about all of this. That's why we're here. That's why we keep creating this, because it brings us so much joy to add to your visions, maybe introduce new visions, maybe sometimes provoke a little bit, whatever it takes, actually. But it's such an honor for us to have this time with you, to speak to you, to work with you, and to thrive with you. So Inspired Tribe. We'll see you again tomorrow, 2 p.m. Central Standard, right here on the Inspire channel. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, and we're free. And we love you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day.